Hello everyone, with the Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Monday evening, September 8, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you all like this video. I'd really appreciate it if you all get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season, that's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below letting me know what the weather's been like in your area recently. Also, feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Taking a look at the U.S. National Hurricane Center 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook that just came out at 6:11 p.m. Jamaica time, we can see that tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days. And this is the reason why, because when we look at the infrared of the Atlantic for this evening, we don't really see much of anything really organized at all, just some patches of clouds here and there across the southwestern Atlantic into the Gulf. A tropical wave right here to the east of the Leeward Islands that's associated with X91L. So we see that it definitely pushed off more so towards the north and west. We can also see some cloud showers and thunderstorms right here just to the east of northeastern South America, extending all the way over into Africa. And we know all of that is, having to do with the intertropical convergent zone. I wonder that if something should form, the next name on the list is Gabrielle. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see that tropical wave that we mentioned just to the east of northeastern South America. That trough, well, it's more so a trough than a tropical wave just to the east of the Leeward Islands. Another tropical wave right here just to the west of Africa, affecting the Cabo Verde Islands. All of these entities, as you know, are being steered from east to west, all courtesy of that ridge of high pressure to the north. And we're not really seeing it on the surface map, but there's actually an upper level low pressure across the Jamaica area. If you actually take a look, we can actually see the clouds. Look, if you see the spinning of the upper level clouds, you can definitely see that spin in the upper levels of the atmosphere. That's an upper level low pressure for sure. We can see the clouds spinning even better on the infrared right here. Look at the fashion in which the clouds are spinning, the upper level clouds, thunderstorm clouds up into the upper levels of the atmosphere, then spinning from east to west and to southwest across Jamaica. That's what an upper level low pressure does. Definitely brings more upper level wind shear in the upper levels of the atmosphere in a circular motion regards to the thunderstorm clouds up that height, but not really enhancing the rainfall or anything like that, but definitely more thunderstorms in and around the upper level low pressure, as you can see here. And if you actually take a look at the entire Caribbean, it's definitely a bit more moist for sure, even more thunderstorms than usual across the Greater Antilles, Florida, the Bahamas, Central America right in there. So interesting times could definitely be ahead. And if we take a look back at the visible, we can see all of what we just saw in the infrared, all of the clouds, showers and thunderstorms across the southwestern Atlantic. The frontal system still affecting portions of Florida into the Gulf, sections of Central America into northern South America with their usual thunderstorms. And that tropical wave right here just to the east of northeastern South America, definitely looking quite formidable. I think I'm even seeing some spin down in there. Or is my eye really playing, are my eyes really playing tricks on me? And we can see the other set of clouds right here associated with that tropical wave, just more so to the south of the Cabo Verde Islands than anything else. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean's weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Monday, September 8, 2025. It was stated that rainfall could have been in the forecast of parts of some northern and western parishes on Monday afternoon. Now we know northern parishes, we're talking about those parishes like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary and Portland. While western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening? At around 2:55 p.m., the visible satellite image was posted not only here on our Twitter page with the Jamaica, but it was also posted on our Instagram page with the Jamaica, on our TikTok page with the Jamaica, and on our Facebook page with the Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there as we make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So we can see the visible satellite image that was posted, and it highlighted some clouds, bring some overcast skies, with some isolated thundershowers, section of some northern and western parishes, even portions of St. Andrew, just as predicted. Got in on some of the thunderstorm activity, section of western Portland, southeastern St. Mary as well. Look at the clouds, look at the sparkling yellow dots across northern St. Andrew, section of St. Anne, southern Trelawney, section of St. James, northern Manchester, northern St. Elizabeth, section of Westmoreland into Hanover. Definitely got on some overcast skies, if not some isolated thundershower activity. And if we take a look back at the visible satellite image right here of Jamaica, we can definitely see, look at the cloud toss being sheared off to the north by that upper level wind shear, the upper level low across the island, clouds being sheared off from east to west, and then towards the southwest around that upper level wind shear, well, around that upper level low pressure for sure. But it definitely highlighted that most of the thunderstorms were across section of northwestern St. Thomas, section of northern St. Andrew, southwestern Portland, section of St. Anne into Trelawney, St. James, Westmoreland, Hanover, and some cloudy conditions into St. Elizabeth as well. And we even saw some thunderstorms just to the south of St. Thomas as well, but nothing coming on land with any rainfall at all. The infrared definitely confirming what we just saw, the clouds pushing in from the south. Well, some high-level clouds being streaked off towards the north intersection of St. Thomas and Portland. No rainfall at all, though. And the thunderstorms that we mentioned across sections of St. Andrew, sections of St. Anne into Trelawney, into St. Elizabeth, into Westmoreland, into Hanover. As you can see here, all of these cloud tops being sheared off from north to south, from east to west, and from northeast to southwest. All courtesy of that upper-level wind shear brought about by that upper-level low. And we definitely had some rainfall that took place here. Upper St. Andrew right here, we can see the vehicles with their windshield wipers on. This was at around, what time is that? That looks like, I believe, okay, 15:34, so that's 3:34 p.m. in the Barbican area. They're getting in on some light to moderate rainfall, as you can see right there. People in their vehicles still going about their business at that time, and I'm sure they're grateful for the little cool down in that part of St. Andrew. And I would like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit See Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams all for you all to view for free. So subscribe today to this channel so that you don't miss out. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website. This map shows where we actually had that rainfall today across section of northern St. Andrew into St. Anne, section of Trelawney into St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, northern St. Elizabeth for sure. And we definitely have some comments that came in from some of our followers. We have Kemi GTV 8131 stating little rain a try fall upon the north side, which is Ocho. Thanks for confirming. We have Latoya stating sun hot. On our Instagram page, we had 876 Franol underscore stating rains in Kingston 3. Thanks for confirming. You even had some comment here on our threads page. We had Nikki.cu stating raining in Barbican Road, Kingston. Thanks for confirming. We just saw that on the Barbican cam. And we have underscore Nessadon stating Portmore always a suffer. Alright, so thanks for the comments. Confirm what the weather was like in your area today. We're about to reload the very latest still image from the Weather Nerds website, the latest Jamaican Doppler radar imagery, the latest Cuban Doppler radar imagery, the latest Guantanamo Bay US Navy radar imagery. It looks like it's back up and running, up to date, and the latest Cayman radar to see what's happening right now. And the latest infrared satellite imagery here from the Weather Nerds website is showing 0015 UTC. This is actually around 7:15 p.m. So this just came out 12 minutes ago. 12 minutes ago, considering that it is 7:27 p.m. right now. There's some upper level cirrus clouds across the east, pushing off towards the north by that upper level wind shear. Nothing in the way of rainfall at all at this time. Unfortunately, the Jamaican Doppler radar cannot confirm. It's still glitched out. The Cuban Doppler radar, on the other hand, seems to be a bit updated. Very updated, as a matter of fact. It is showing all the way up to 8:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 7:20 p.m. Jamaica time on September 8th. So it's very up to date. As of right now, not really seeing much of anything across the island. We do see some rain bands right here between Jamaica and Haiti earlier, though, but those have dissipated by this time. The Guantanamo Bay U.S. Navy radar also confirming that rainfall that we saw between Jamaica and Haiti on the Cuban Doppler radar. And we can also see some rain bands right here across western Haiti, as well as portions of southeastern Cuba, just to the west of Guantanamo right there. Some light to moderate rainfall. The Cayman radar, on the other hand, confirming some rainfall that took place across central Cuba, some blows, some light rainfall. We also see some rain bands right here to the north and to the west of the Cayman Islands as well. Regarding what's happening right now, the live camera right here from See Jamaica's YouTube channel. What's going on? There you go. It looks like something was happening. Okay. Very interesting. Are these cops? Something looks like it looks like something is happening downtown. A bit of traffic here with the JUTC buses, but I believe something is happening. It's a bit glitchy though. Downtown Kingston always a keep. Alright, so as you can see, nothing in the way of bad weather taking place. Definitely dry conditions, as you can see here. People walking about, going about their business. People in their vehicles going about their business. And that should be the order of the evening into the night. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we have around 28 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 27 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Tuesday, temperature should dip down to about 26 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 24 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is valid for 18Z on Tuesday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Tuesday, and we can see Jamaica right here embedded in some grays and some yellows that represents average to at least 1 degree Celsius above average temperature. I know that average temperature for the month of September across Jamaica is around 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and when that's converted to degrees Celsius that we use here in Jamaica, that's around 32.2 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from 32.2 all the way up to 33.2 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Tuesday. And unfortunately, we have numerous maintenance outage advisories here from my JPS Online's Twitter page that we have to highlight. And we know that we have to highlight these because we know that when we have power outages somewhere across the island, it can definitely make the heat feel even worse because we don't have our fan or AC to cool us down. So if you live or work in these areas, or if you have friends or relatives who live or work in these areas, please let them know that a power outage is coming their way on Tuesday, September 9, 2025. We're referring to Treasure Heights as well as Treasure Beach in St. Elizabeth from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Delightful Road as well as Junction in St. Elizabeth as well from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. We're also expecting outages in Cassia Park Avenue in St. Andrew from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. City View as well as Jackshill in St. Andrew as well from 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Clifton, Gravel Hill, Gimme Me Bit. We also have Shekels, Thompson as well as Smithville in Clarendon, all from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we have McGregor Drive to Clarendon Gardens in Clarendon from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. We even have a repeat. It looks like they're, I guess, updated. We still have Cassia Park Avenue in St. Andrew from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Bunkers Hill in Trelawney, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Greenwood in Trelawney, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And finally, we have Williamsfield to Zion Hill in Portland from 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we have some tips right here to beat the heat as usual. It states here, dress down, wear lightweight clothing and use sunscreen. Check on others including children, elderly people with medical conditions and pets. Be cool, stay indoors and make use of fans and air conditioners. Avoid alcohol and caffeine as they can make dehydration worse. Limit non-essential strenuous activity during the hottest parts of the day. And I cannot stress enough the importance of staying hydrated throughout the day. Drink lots of water even if you're not thirsty and put away those sugar drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those reds. And we can see that we still have some dry air extending from Africa across the main development region into the eastern Caribbean. We know that the dry air is responsible for keeping the atmosphere stable, making it harder for it to rain these days. But we like that we're seeing some moisture extending from Africa into the intertropical convergence zone, into the central to the western Caribbean, into the Gulf, into the southwestern Atlantic of the east coast of the US, in and around Central America. And we know that the dry air is responsible for, well, keeping that atmosphere stable over this side. But clearly, the moisture is starting to bring more clouds, and wherever we have more clouds, that's where we have more rainfall. And that's what we want. We want more rainfall so that we get more water in our pipes, as well as to keep the temperatures down. Regarding the Saharan dust forecast for the next 3 days, so we're heading into September 9, September 10, and September 11. And as you can see, Jamaica should be in the clear for the most part, but clearly, by the time September 12 rolls around, some Saharan dust, as you can see by the greenish, yellowish shades, should be pushing into the Jamaica area. But we like the fact that the more it pushes west, the more it is decreasing in intensity. You notice at the beginning it had more of an orange shade, then as soon as it hit the eastern Caribbean, it started to dwindle down back to the yellows and the greens, all the way back into the greater Antilles. And that's what we want. We want the Saharan dust to be dwindling so that by the time it gets to us, it's not really that noticeable. We don't see the Saharan dust in the air, we don't see the hazy skies, and we don't get in on any of the effects of the Saharan dust. You know, the asthma, the sinusitis issues that it can cause at all. Regarding the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see that across the Caribbean, we're still shaded with the light shades of blues to dark shades of blues. That's anywhere from 0.5 for meter wave height all the way up to 1.5 meter wave height. And that's because of the wind. We see more of an east-southeasterly, if not southeasterly flow across the Caribbean, averaging anywhere from 10 to 15 knots at most, maybe even up to 25 knots right here to the southwest of Jamaica. What does the close-up show? To the north of Portland for the Fisher Folk tomorrow, 0.5 for meter wave height. To the south of St. Thomas, 0.8 for meter wave height. To the north of St. Anne, 0.5 for meter wave height. To the south of Clarendon, 0.8 for meter wave height. To the north of Hanover, 0.6 for meter wave height. To the south of Westmoreland, 0.5 for meter wave height. And that's because of the winds that are expected tomorrow. We see more of an easterly flow across the island tomorrow, averaging 12 knots right here to the north of St. James, averaging 12 knots right here to the south of St. Thomas, averaging 12 knots right here to the south of Manchester. And we see where the air is expected to pile up, maybe across sections of some central and western parishes. So that's where we have the least amount of winds, and you know the drill. Wherever we have the least amount of winds, that's where the low level clouds could become mid-level rain clouds, if not upper-level cumulonimbus clouds during the afternoon. And then we have that daytime heating rainfall, and the upper-level winds seem to be coming in from the southeast tomorrow. So unlike today, where when we had the thunderstorms across the island, they were being blown off in this kind of fashion, considering that the upper-level low is pushing to the west. So more than likely it's going to be doing something like this in that direction. It's going to be bringing more of a southeasterly kind of flow across the island tomorrow. Definitely bring more overcast skies to sections of some northern and western parishes for sure. But regarding the actual rainfall forecast maps now, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 8 a.m. Jamaica time. And look at what we see on both maps. First of all, we see the blues represent rainfall across the waters towards south, and we also see some rainfall across the far eastern end of the island, maybe eastern Portland into eastern St. Thomas, getting in on some morning rainfall. Then by afternoon, we see some differences on both the Euro and the GFS. The Euro showing some rainfall in the blues across section of St. Andrew into section of St. Anne and Trelawney, but the GFS making more sense with that afternoon rainfall across sections of some central and western parishes, even bringing some of that rainfall from the east into eastern Jamaica. Very interesting forecast. The Euro not really strong on the rainfall in the afternoon. GFS definitely a bit more strong, and we have to work with the GFS because the GFS is usually more accurate when it comes to the afternoon rainfall in the short term. So have to pay close attention. So there could be some rainfall expected for sections of St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrews, section of St. Mary, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, section of Westmoreland, section of Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, getting in on some of the action as well. Bring your raincoat or your umbrella tomorrow, just in case. Even the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps here from the Euro and the GFS are in agreement that it's going to be raining somewhere in Jamaica within the next 24 hours. The Euro going up to at least 0.55 an inch of rainfall. The GFS going up to at least 0.27 of an inch of rainfall. And whatever happens, we'll definitely take it, because we're in the month of September. We're in the peak of our rainy, well, not the peak yet. October is the peak. But we're in our primary rainy season. It's usually a rainy September. As you can see here, Kingston, we usually receive close to 100 millimeters, so that's about 90 millimeters of rainfall. In Montego Bay, we usually receive close to 7 inches of rainfall for the month of September. And I would like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives in terms of rainfall for the month of September or for the entire year, you can visit weatherandclimate.com and that website to show you that information. And you can use this nice graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters. We know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us according to the latest Euro and GFS supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top as we go to the next 168 hours, that stands for the next 7 days. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens that represents inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place. So we just looked at Tuesday's forecast. Now it's time to look at Wednesday all the way back to next week, Monday. As you can see here, 12:00 on Wednesday, as you know, is actually around, hold on. Yeah, so 12:00 on Wednesday is actually around 7 a.m. And we can see the rainfall across the far eastern end of the island, as you can see there. Then on Wednesday afternoon, look at that, we're seeing rainfall across some eastern, central, and western parishes. What does the GFS show? GFS for Wednesday morning shows rainfall across southern and eastern parishes. Very interesting. Then on Wednesday afternoon, rainfall across sections of some central and western parishes. What do we see on Thursday morning? Thursday morning, we're actually still seeing some rainfall across the far eastern end of the island. Thursday afternoon looks to be more so central western parishes getting on some rainfall. What does Thursday morning look like on the GFS? Not really much of anything. We're seeing more whites than anything else, representing to no rainfall. Then Thursday afternoon, look at that, rainfall across eastern, central, western parishes. Interesting. What do we see on Friday morning? On Friday morning, not really seeing much of anything across Jamaica on the Euro. Then on Friday afternoon, looks like central, western parishes with some rainfall. What does the GFS show? Friday morning, not really much of anything. Friday afternoon, rainfall across sections of some central, western parishes. Interesting. What do we see on Saturday morning? On Saturday morning, not really seeing much of anything. Saturday afternoon, we're seeing rainfall across sections of some central and western parishes. What does the GFS show? Saturday morning, not really much of anything. Saturday afternoon, we're seeing rainfall across some, it looks like, eastern, central, and western parishes. What do we see on Sunday morning? We're heading into Sunday and Monday. Sunday morning, we see some isolated showers across the far eastern end. Sunday afternoon, not really seeing much of anything across the island at all. Maybe some isolated showers across the south and the northwest. And we're going to be stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is valid for Monday, September 15. We see rainfall to the north, we see rainfall to the south of us. What does the GFS show? Sunday morning on the GFS, rainfall to the south of us, rainfall across the far eastern end. And then on Sunday afternoon, rainfall across some northern and western parishes. And we're going to be stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours as well. So this is valid for Monday, September 15. And interesting, the GFS showing something out here in the main development region. As a matter of fact, the GFS also showing something across the Western Caribbean. But what does the Euro show? And we know that the Hurricane Center usually works more with what the Euro is showing than the GFS. They're definitely more, in belief of what the Euro has to offer when it comes to tropical cyclogenesis. Yes, we do see some moisture across the far Western Caribbean. The GFS a bit more robust, so that even showing some yellows into oranges and reds, even the red L in there. Also seeing something forming here across the main development region. We'll see how it actually plays out. Wouldn't be surprised if in the next 3 days or so we actually see some code yellows popping up here and there on the Euro on the Hurricane Center's website, especially if the Euro starts to come on board with what the GFS is starting to sniff. out. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the next 7 days from the Euro and the GFS, we're still seeing that the most rainfall over the next 7 days is going to be across section of Florida into the Bahamas, section of Central America into northern South America, and that's because that's where we see most of the dark reds into the purples and the pinks that we know represent anywhere from 2 all the way up to 5 inches of rainfall. So those areas could get in on some isolated flash flooding for sure, and we see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with that, while other areas such as the Greater Antilles into the Lesser Antilles that are shaded in the yellows into the oranges and reds, that's representing anywhere from an inch or less of rainfall. Those areas should be getting in on those rainfall totals within the next 7 days. Regarding Jamaica's rainfall totals for the next 7 days, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until Monday, September 15. And we see the blues into the greens into the yellows represent anywhere from 1 millimeter of rainfall all the way up to maybe 30 millimeters of rainfall, especially across the far eastern end, the northern and western end. The GFS a bit more robust with the rainfall totals. The blues and the greens, yes, from the eastern end to the northern and western end, especially across the northwestern end right here. St. James into northeastern Hanover, we see that right here, the oranges that represents up to maybe 50 millimeters of rainfall. We'll see it actually plays out, and whatever happens, I will definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us see what's happening across the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have that upper level low spinning away across the central Caribbean right here into Jamaica. We also see the usual thunderstorm activity across Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, Cuba. Still having a lot of cloud showers and thunderstorms across the northern Bahamas, Florida. We also see the usual thunderstorm activity across Central America into northern South America, and that impressive kind of spinning looking tropical wave right here just to the east of northeastern South America. Very interesting. Will it crash into northeastern South America? Will it push a bit more northwestward, bring some rainfall to the Windward Islands? We'll see. Regarding the Doppler radar image, down here near Puerto Rico, we can see some rainfall affecting the Dominican Republic, some rainfall across some southern sections of Puerto Rico, some rainfall in and around Antigua and Barbuda, Montserrat, Guadeloupe getting on some of the action as well. Taking a look at the Barbados radar, not seeing much of anything across Barbados at this time, but we can actually see some rain bands that affected section of the Grenadines, Grenada, sections of St. Vincent, sections of southern St. Lucia, southern Martinique, getting in on some of the action as well. And we see some rain bands pushing into section of Guadeloupe right there. And regarding the weather via Doppler radar images, we can see some rainfall in and around Florida, the northern Bahamas, section of Cuba, the Yucatan, northern Guatemala, section of northern Honduras, getting in on some of the action as well. We can also see some rainfall in and around Puerto Rico into the Dominican Republic, especially to the south of there. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are in agreement that within the next 24 hours, these areas that are shaded in the greens, yellows, oranges, and reds could get in on anywhere from 0.1 of an inch of rainfall all the way up to 1 inch or more or less for the next 24 hours, anywhere from now up until 10 p.m. on Tuesday. And we see Florida shaded, section of central to western Cuba, the northern and southeastern Bahamas shaded, section of southeastern Cuba shaded, section of Grand Cayman shaded, Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the US and British Virgin Islands, St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis, Anguilla, St. Barts, Antigua and Barbuda, sections of Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados. We also see some rainfall in store for sections of Guyana, Suriname, Venezuela, section of the ABC Islands, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, Belize, the Yucatan Peninsula getting in on some of the action as well. And we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with this forecast. And we know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances are higher for it to actually take place. Alright, so regarding what's happening on the eastern Pacific side of things, we're still watching Hurricane Kiko, which is now to the east of the Hawaiian Islands, more so to the east northeast of the big island right there. We can also see that we have a code red right here, just to the, well, looks like to the west of Nicaragua. That's expected to push west northwestward and possibly develop in this hatched area to the south of Mexico. Taking a look at the infrared, we can see the cloud sheds and thunderstorms associated with Hurricane Kiko definitely being shared from south to north as we speak, losing its intensity. We can also see the clouds, showers, and thunderstorms associated with that area just to the west of Nicaragua, trying to get its act together to push towards west-northwest to become the next name on the list. I don't know the next name on the list after Kiko and Lorena. If you remember, we already had Lorena. The next name is Mario. Regarding Hurricane Kiko, we can see it right here, expected to downgrade back to a tropical storm as it passes just to the north of the Hawaiian island. As of right now, it is packing 85 mile per hour winds. We know that any system that packs anywhere from 74 to 95 mile per hour winds are classified as a category 1 hurricane. So right now it's a category 1, pushing towards the northwest or to the west-northwest. And you can see it maintaining that tropical storm status all the way up to 8 a.m. on Friday. Then by Saturday, back to a D, that's tropical depression status. As of right now, it's moving towards the northwest at 15 miles per hour. No watches or warnings or anything like that up for Hawaii at all. Regarding what's happening on the western Pacific side of things, as well as the Indian Ocean, look at this. The southern Indian Ocean has a code red, something that could develop into a cyclone down here. And which direction would it go? Would it go towards Africa and Madagascar, or would it go towards Australia to the east? We'll see. Either way, we're still watching Typhoon Tapa. Look at that. It even upgraded. Yesterday it was a tropical storm, and it made it up to typhoon status and pushed into China. You can see the cloud showers and thunderstorms right here, but as you can see, it's inland right now, so it should be decreasing in intensity because of the lack of warm water. As of right now, it is right here on the coast. It's packing 65 knot winds. Now we know that anywhere from 65 to 83 knot winds are classified as a category 1 hurricane. So it actually made it up to hurricane status just before landfall. It's expected to push up towards the northwest. As you can see, the intensity going down 45, 30, 20, all the way back to nothing at all. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.